number 8, we want to recognize that the equation is already in slope-intercept form. What does the M stand for? Slope. And what does the B stand for? The y-intercept means what? Where it crosses the y-axis. That's correct. And so where does this line cross the y-axis? At positive 1. We put a dot there. Now when we apply the slope, we have to have some point on the line to start from. It doesn't matter if it's on the y-intercept or the x-intercept, it's just somewhere else in the graph. But in this case, it's on the y-axis against the y-intercept. So my slope is what? Which means I rise, what? I rise how far? -1, and I run positive 2. So that means down 1 and right 2. Down 1 and right 2. So there's my dots. Draw that line. Something like that. Okay? Now, I don't know why the authors of this test writer have multiple selections that are the same. They just have a flaw in their program, and I can't adjust that. So if that happens and they're both correct, then put both answers down. If that happens and they're both wrong, then move on to one of the other two options. Okay? You don't have to ask me on the test what I need to do. Just automatically put them both down if there's multiple correct answers. Okay? I don't take any points off if you don't, but if I don't catch it myself right away, then I might, you might be selecting A and the answer key says B, I might not catch it right away. I usually do, but I might not. Okay? All right. Any other questions? Oh, I guess that's the only one on there. Page 5. Page 6. Did I hear a question? I said, did I hear a question? Okay, page 7. Number 16. Okay, 16 is the ratio 9. Oops, there. Marker. What was it? 9 to 4 to 5?
Yes.
So what that means is we have a triangle. Triangle looks something like this maybe. And we're saying the ratio of the angles is 9 to 4 to 5. Okay? And what that means is that the biggest angle is broke up into 9 equal pieces. And I could try to do that. That's not 9 and it's pretty difficult, so I'm not going to actually do it, but I could break that up into 9 pieces. The next angle is broke up into 4 equal pieces, and the next angle is broke up into 5 equal pieces. So my question is, how big is each equal piece? Do we know? No. So when we don't know, what do we assign it? A variable, and I'm hearing someone say x. So how big is the big angle then? 9 x's. How big is the next biggest angle? 5 x's. How big is the next biggest angle? 4 x's. What do the 3 angles of a triangle always do? Add up to 180. So 5x plus 4x plus 9x equals 180. And so that's 18 x's. That's nice. It divides into a nice number. 10 10. So I know how big each piece is now. So now what the question asks?
What's the measure of the smallest?
What's the measure of the smallest angle? Which was which one? The 4x, right? So the smallest angle has a measure of 4 times 10, which is 40 degrees. Okay? That was what number? 16. So you're asking about 17 also?
Yeah.
17 says the chips used in a board game Math Furies have the same shape, have the shape of a pentagon. How many sides does each Math Fury chip have?
Never mind, don't do that. Never.
Okay.
So-
Sometimes when we get a story problem, we kind of panic a little bit, assuming it's going to be hard. But all they're really asking is how many sides does a pentagon have, right? So the answer is what? 5. Good. All right, next page. Is that 9? Oh, 8. Page 8, any questions? Yep, 19. Okay, 19 looks something like this. So this is number 19. What'd they tell me this angle right here was? What'd they say? 24. What'd they say this out here was?
2x.
2x. And did they tell me these sides are equal?
No.
No?
The angles are 0.
Yeah,
The 2.
Oh.
two base angles.
So they said that these two angles are equal. So that means this is also 24. Right? And so what do these two angles do? They add up to 180. They add up to this blue line, don't they? Okay, and so that's 24 plus 2x has to equal 180. So if I subtract 24 from both sides, you get 2x is 156, is that right? So x equals 78. Did they ask for x or one of the angles?
No, you got it.
Any others on page 8? Okay, page 9 then. No questions on 9? Okay, page 10. You have a question on 9? Find the distance between the pair of points. What number was it? 22. What were our 2 points?
1
And 2, and then 6 and 3.
6, 3?
Yep.
Need to remember the formula. So there's our formula, and if we went through and said this is x1 and y1, and this is x2 and y2, the key is to make sure we substitute the x's in for the x's. A lot of times people put 1 and 2 both in right here, and these these are two x's here, and this is an x and a y. So be careful you don't do something silly like that. And then other most common mistake, everybody says, oh, I don't need to remember to write down that square root symbol, that's too much work. And then next thing you know, they have an option of 10, and that's what you had was 10, and so you think it's right instead of the square root of 10. So let's do this one correctly. X2 is 6 minus x1 is 1. Y2 is 3 minus y1, which is 2. 6 minus 1 is 5. It's a positive number, so if you don't want to write the parentheses, don't. And 3 minus 2 is 1. Again, a positive number, so you don't have to write the parentheses. 5 squared is 25, and 1 squared is 1. What's 25 and 1? 26. Did they say round to the nearest 10?
Yep.
Yep.
So then I would plug that in my calculator. What is it? 5.1? Okay, page 10. 20 what? 27? Okay. 27 has multiple ways of working this out. Something like this probably. And did they tell me this angle right here?
Yeah, it's 59.
59. And this little one up here?
43.
And the one next to it?
X.
14.
Oh,
14. And this is X, Z, and Y?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. Multiple ways of doing this. Probably most of you can see, let me go this way. Most of you can see this triangle. And how do I find the value of x?
9 plus 43 plus x.
Okay, so what's the premise that we're going on here? What do these three angles do? Add up to 180. So we're saying 43 plus 59 plus x equals 180. And so 43 and 59 is 102. And so x is equal to 78. Okay. Now if I continue to focus on that yellow triangle, and I extend this side out, what kind of an angle is Z? It's an exterior angle. And the measure of this exterior angle is equal to the sum of the two remote interior angles. Okay? Or, well, let me do that first. So that means Z is equal to 43 plus 59, which we already said is 102. Or you could have said, that these two angles add up to 180. Okay? And so you could have solved that way also. 180. See, we found this to be 78 right here. So then 180 minus 78 is 102. Okay? All right. So that is those two. If I look at these two angles, I'm sorry, if I look at this triangle, then I have this angle, and this angle, right? Make up that triangle. What's the measure of this top angle up here? 57. And 59 here and y there, and the three of them have to add up to 180. So that's one way, okay? Since we found all the other parts except for y, we could look at this triangle now. And I know this one is 102, and this is 14, so these three have to add up to 180. So you see what I'm getting at? There's multiple ways of working this out. And I'm not going to tell you which is best, okay? But there are multiple ways. So what do we get y to be? 102 plus 14 plus y equals 180. So that's 126. No, how about 116? Subtract y is equal to 64. Now, I told you this multiple times. If this question appears on the test again, make sure you put these in the right order. Many of you look at this and say that's, and you see right now that's an x, a z, and a y. But when they give us in the form of x equals y equals z equals, we transpose these two around, the z and the y, we switch them around. And so you have to be careful with that, not to do that. Okay? Make sure you select the right one. All right. Any other questions on page 10? Any questions on that last problem? What's that? 26? So on 10. Okay. We have a couple lines that look something like this. One looks like this. Is this a 1, 2, 3, 4?
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter. Here's a 5, right? We're really just looking at those two angles, because those are the two they gave me information about. What'd they tell me about these two angles?
They equal each other?
Oh, they said that?
Oh, no. But the
No.
lines are parallel, so
What?
they
Okay, the lines are parallel. What kind of angles are they?
correspond.
Corresponding. Because they're in the same position, right? Top left for number 1, top left for number 5. And so they're in the same position, makes them corresponding. If the lines are parallel, then they have to be equal. So the measure of angle 1 must equal measure of angle 5. And what they tell me measure of angle 1 was?
5x plus 25.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
5x plus 25.
5x plus 25. And measure angle 5 is
7x plus 23.
7x plus 23. Okay, so if I subtract 5x from both sides, I get 25, these cancel, they're equal to 2x plus 23. If I subtract 23 from both sides, I get 2x is equal to 2, and divide x is equal to 1. Some of you are making mistakes on this because you're ending up with the wrong sign because you're getting careless. Right, Liz? You're getting careless on carrying your signs when you move things around. So be very careful of that. It's an algebra skill. I'm not testing you on that, but if you don't do it right, you're not going to get the right answer. Any questions on number 28?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. 28. Something like this. Did they tell me what this outside angle was?
137.
What is it?
137.
Did they tell me this over here?
X.
Did they say anything else?
Yeah,
Top? What is it?
42.
42. Okay? Now, some of you would say, I can find this angle right here. I'll just call it Y for now, but I can find that angle. It's going to be 180 minus 137, right? And then you can look at this triangle, and you can find X. Okay, you certainly can do that. I'm not going to mark it wrong if you do it that way. But the point of this question was for you to recognize this exterior angle is equal to the sum of these two angles. So x plus 42 should equal 137. So if I subtract 42 from 137, I think I get 95.
Yeah.
Okay? That was the intent of the question, but there's certainly another way of doing it. What's that? Well, it would take longer. I mean, there'd be a couple more steps, but. If that's the first method that pops into your head, sometimes that's faster than trying to think of another method. Okay, any other questions that we overlooked now you wish you would have asked? And the bottom of that page, where number 28's at, bottom of that page, I want you to to write this proof. You're given that segment BE and segment AD bisect each other. And we want to prove that segment BA is equal to or congruent to segment ED. Okay? We'll pause this while we work on that, and then we'll do it together. Okay. So the given was segment BE and AD, segment AD bisect each other. And then a lot of you saw right away the vertical angles. And so we say vertical angles. It's actually a theorem, but if you don't have that on there, I'm okay with that. Okay? And And so we marked the angles we had. But the question is, what does it mean that these segments bisect each other? We have to be asking, why did they bother to tell me that? That must have value. Okay? And it does. What does it mean if a segment bisects another segment?
It's right in the center.
It goes right through the center. In fact, it cuts it into
Halves.
halves, two, better yet, two equal halves. Okay? Cuts it into two equal halves. So if segment BE bisects AD, that means it cuts segment AD into two equal halves. And if segment AD bisects BE, it cuts segment BE into two equal halves. Okay? So now I have two more facts, don't I? By saying they bisect each other, it's not just one way, it's both ways. And so BC is congruent to segment BC is congruent to segment CE, and segment AC is congruent to segment DC. I switched this around, sorry. I'm going to go ahead and fix it because I told you day one that I would always write it correctly. Okay? So, why? How did I know that was true? Definition of what?
Bisector.
A bisector, that's correct. They told me it was a bisector. So it's the definition of that word that made me understand. I'm just going to say bisects, okay? All right, so now if we go back and look, how many facts do I have? 3. So I can say triangle ABC, is congruent to triangle DEC because of side angle side. That's right, the angle I was given right here is between these two sides. And this angle is between these two sides. Okay? So it's side angle side. Now that I know those triangles are congruent, what can I say? Okay, segment BA is congruent to segment ED because of, that's right, CPCTC. Because once I've proved all the triangles are congruent, that's what the TC stands for, then that means all corresponding parts are congruent. Okay? So how do we do? We get closer?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the last step, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. No, I meant, are we getting closer to understanding how to write that proof? Okay? Let's try one more. So turn to the back. Just try to use the top half of the page in case I do one more thing. So if I have a picture that looks like this, try that. Sorry, I gave you bad information, so if you are doing this at home, hopefully you didn't spend too much time before you played out a little bit. Then change that given to those two angles instead. Okay, we'll get started on this, the given segment AB congruent to segment CB. Listen, you should be marking these. I saw somebody, let me try that again. Let me stop talking. I saw somebody separating these. Actually saw a couple somebodies. That's a good thing to do. Okay? And so then, go ahead and label them. This was A, B, E, and this was B, a D, and a C. Okay, so there's my two triangles. Now if I mark, as I make this statement, if I mark up my triangle, AB is here and CB is here. Okay? And then the other part of the given was angle CDB congruent to angle AEB. I was just helping Audrey with this, but you are not by any means the only person who struggled with this. A lot of people, as I wander around, are struggling with this. Angle CDB. You did a nice job of tracing that angle, but then we're confused on what that means. Angle CDB. Well, it's an angle, so it's not one of these two sides here, but it's an angle. And the angle that's created by these two sides is this angle, right? So that's the angle that we are looking at. Okay? And so angle AEB, that's going to be this angle. Okay? Angle AEB and angle CDB are congruent. That was given. Now I saw somebody looking at vertical angles. And I agree, there are vertical angles here. The problem is, that point doesn't have a label on it, does it? So we can't identify those angles. Okay? So that doesn't help. The fact that they're vertical doesn't help us any. And if you look down here in our green and yellow triangles, those vertical angles don't exist anymore. They're not part of those two triangles. Okay? So if we go back and look again at the picture, what is the same in both of them, Audrey?
What?
What's the same in both triangles?
B.
Angle B, right? So you said angle B is congruent to angle B because of why? Reflexive property. Okay, that's the reflexive property. This angle B and this angle B are the same in both triangles. Okay? They're exactly the same. So now, I know I used black there, but I should mark 2 marks, not 1, because we already have E and D marked as 1. So we're now ready to say that triangle ABE is congruent to triangle CBD because of why? What's that? Angle, angle, side. That's right. It went angle, angle, and then this side. Angle, angle, then this side. Okay? So it's angle, angle, side. Now that I know that the triangles are congruent, I can say angle A is congruent to angle C because of CP, CP, C. Okay? Alright. We just have a few minutes left, so I'll open up the question. You have anything that I've given you in homework or notes or in conversation at all that you're confused on and would like me to spend a couple minutes on?
Finding the measurement of base angles.
Finding the measure of base angles. So if I have an isosceles triangle, and they either put marks like that on there, or they say something like this. They're telling me those sides are 10, then they're telling me this is an equal size. They're equal. It makes this an isosceles triangle. So that means the base angles must be congruent. So if I know this one is 40, then I don't know these two. Let's say this is x. Well, if this is x, then this must be x. And so those three angles, x plus 40, have to add up to 180. And so 2x's plus 40 equals 180. So 2x is equal to 140. X would equal 70. Okay? Now someone else might say, I have to write that formula. Can't I just look at this and say, well, if that's 40, then these two must be 140? And since they're the same, I divide by 2, I get 70? Yeah, that's in fact exactly what we said in this work here. Okay? So it is the same thing. You can go ahead and do that. Okay? It's up to you. Question. Any others? Okay.